All right, guys, today we have more PlayStation news to go over and discuss. We have multiple topics we're going to be going over in this video, some of which I think are very interesting and you guys will be interested in. So before we get into it, make sure you hit that like button to help the video out and show it your support. I would really appreciate that. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel. But we're starting here with some very exciting and very positive PlayStation news, which I think is important because there's been a lot of negativity surrounding PlayStation lately. Unfortunately, I can understand it to a certain extent, but I certainly feel that people are jumping to conclusions way too quickly. They're automatically jumping to the worst case scenarios. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you're talking about the internet. This is what people do all the time. But I think that this is something we should pay close attention to, because not only does it very clearly and objectively highlight Sony's willingness to continue to take risks with new games and new IP, I think it's also just very exciting because it lets us know we're going to be getting potentially a AAA title, a brand new AAA title that is a next-gen only game from London Studio. And what's interesting is when you go over this information, it becomes clear that London Studio is looking to try and leverage the PlayStation 5 hardware. I talked to you guys many times in the past about how Sony made specific design decisions with the PS5's SSD, its I/O throughput, and the way it can all work together, and how it can fundamentally potentially change gameplay design from the floor up. That's kind of what we're starting to hear developers talk about, or at least these studios talk about, when it comes to what they're striving for with new hires. So let's go over the new information here. It says London Studio has in recent years been Sony's premier virtual reality team, but it looks like it's temporarily stepping away from the technology if job listings are to be believed. There's no mention of PSVR at all in its open positions, but instead there are multiple references to a brand new next-gen IP in development for PlayStation 5. Roles include the likes of artists, graphics programmers, and animators, but there are also a couple of references to multiplayer. We are really excited to open this hire for an experienced online gameplay designer because it's a role of crucial importance to the new PS5 project we are working on at London Studio. That's what one job listing reads. The post also explains that as a first-party studio, we set out to produce games which show the exciting potential of the latest PlayStation hardware. So it's important you are up for experimenting and working in uncharted design territory. Now, I want you to pay close attention to that last part there, because in my opinion, that clearly lets us know that whatever Sony London is doing with this PlayStation 5 title, they plan to go with a non-traditional gameplay design. In other words, they're going to be experimenting with some new types of gameplay design. I don't know, maybe types of gameplay design that can only be achieved on PlayStation 5 hardware due to the I/O throughput and the overall speed. That's just my assumption, but it seems very clear that that is something they're going to be striving for. Something else that also seems very clear to me, this will be a PlayStation 5 only title. I highly doubt that by the time this game comes out, it's probably 3 to 4 years away. I know it's quite a ways away, but still, that's just the reality of game development. I highly doubt it's going to be releasing on the PlayStation 4. So this is very exciting. It also does mention multiplayer. I know not everybody is on board with that, but I've been saying for some time that I think it would be wise of Sony to maybe start experimenting a little bit with adding in some more multiplayer titles. They don't have to be multiplayer only titles. I mean, we all love our single player narrative driven experiences, and in my opinion, Sony has those on lock. But if they want to start adding some more meaningful multiplayer components to some of their games, or if they just want to start making some multiplayer only games that are actually high quality and not just, microtransaction cash grabs, I'm all for that. So whatever this is, I'm very excited about it. I mean, we need to keep our expectations in check. We don't know what this game is going to be, what the quality level of it will be. I assume it's going to be AAA just because obviously Sony is laser focused on getting as many of their first-party studios to work on AAA titles. They're not really striving for smaller games. So all in all, I'm very excited about this. And, not only are we finding out that Sony Bend was given the opportunity recently to make a brand new game, to make a new IP. It's unfortunate that they had to go through some turmoil. It's unfortunate that they're not being given the opportunity to make Days Gone 2, but they are getting a new IP, or the chance at a new IP. We're also seeing Sony London get that same chance. So if anything, what we're seeing is Sony is actually being more risky here by doing this, right? By not doing Days Gone 2 and letting Sony Bend do a new game, and then rather than having Sony London do more VR stuff, which I think would be playing it more safe, they're giving them the chance to make a full-blown AAA, I would assume, new IP for PS5. So, there's been a lot of negativity, as I said, around Sony lately and how they're apparently not going to take risks. But if you look at what we're seeing here, it's very clear that no, Sony is continuing to take some very big risks here. So I will continue to follow this game, and I'll be interested to hear more about it. But we're going to move on from that and talk about PlayStation's potential counterpunch to Microsoft's Game Pass. This is a story that I've been seeing making the rounds lately, and I do find it interesting because I think a lot of people are wondering, is Sony planning to respond to Xbox Game Pass? So it says here, God of War creator and former Sony veteran David Jaffe has heard from his sources that the company is working on a counterpunch to Microsoft Game Pass. So it says in a video posted on YouTube, Jaffe said that people who are writing off SIE CEO Jim Ryan are doing so prematurely. And this is exactly what he said. He said, I've said time and again that people who are writing Jim Ryan's obituary are way premature. We had the guy on the show yesterday that had made the petition to fire Jim Ryan. And I was like, dude, that's way premature because Jim Ryan doesn't owe anybody. Sony doesn't owe anybody the truth about what's coming and what their counterpunch to Game Pass is. What I can tell you is I know they are doing some stuff because I know people at Sony who have told me that they are doing some stuff. There will be a response to Game Pass. What it is, we don't know. Now, I think maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't, but if he did know, he certainly wouldn't share that information. But I find this very interesting because, Jaffe is coming to Jim Ryan's defense, and I feel like Jim Ryan is a focal point for PlayStation these days, where it's either Jim Ryan's got to go, fire Jim Ryan, or people are just like, he's really not doing that bad of a job. I think it's just a natural knee-jerk reaction that people are having because Sony's been particularly quiet, and there has been some, negativity, some negative news coming out as of late. But I think people are certainly jumping the gun here. When it comes to the whole, defending Jim Ryan, I'll probably talk more about that during the podcast tomorrow because we definitely have to talk about this situation. Like, does Jim Ryan need to go? Is he truly ruining PlayStation? Or are people maybe, I don't know, as David Jaffe says here, they're being a bit premature with that line of thinking. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But to talk about this counterpunch to Game Pass, I'm very interested in what this might be because we did hear from Jim Ryan specifically. He said that they have an answer to Game Pass. And I said before that, I have no idea what this could be. And David Jaffe's making it sound like he doesn't know, but they are working on something. Is it going to be day and date releases into PlayStation Now or something like that, or PlayStation Plus with their big exclusive games? It's not. I can tell you right now, that's not going to happen. Sony will not do that. So whatever their counterpunch to Game Pass is, it's going to be something a little bit different. And that's why I'm so interested in it, because it makes me think, well, what exactly could it be? Are they going to start maybe putting their older exclusives into a service like Game Pass or PlayStation Now? Are they going to maybe try to pay more third-party developers to launch their games into whatever this Game Pass counterpunch service will be, similar to what we saw Microsoft do recently with Outriders? I think it could be anything, but it is interesting to me that we have somebody here who I do believe that David Jaffe has sources at Sony that are telling him these things and letting him know that, trust me, they're working on something. I do believe it. And so I'm just very interested to know what this counterpunch is going to be, whether or not it's going to shock PlayStation fans, whether or not it's going to be enough of a counterpunch. But this doesn't come as a surprise to me. Not only did Sony themselves say that they're working on an answer, or they have a response to Game Pass, but it always seemed obvious to me that Game Pass was something that Sony would have to contend with outside of just releasing their own AAA games. So let me know down in the comments below what you think this counterpunch to Xbox Game Pass could be that's going to be apparently coming from Sony. But we're going to just end this video by talking briefly about PlayStation 5 sales performance in the UK. And I understand that there are a lot of people who don't want to hear about PlayStation 5 sales because people want to know, when can they buy a PlayStation 5? It's been very difficult to do so. I understand that, but I just want to use this as an opportunity to just remind people, again, because of the constant negativity surrounding PlayStation, that the reality of the situation is the PlayStation 5 is possibly the best-selling console of all time, at least as of right now, and it's been doing work. It's been selling like crazy, and even though Sony can't keep up with the demand and there's manufacturing problems and trouble producing enough units, the PS5 is still a very desirable console. And I have to highlight this just to remind people, guys, like, PlayStation's doing just fine. You may not like every single decision they're making, but this idea that they're suddenly a sinking ship and that they're going to rapidly start losing market share, that's just not the reality. Okay, so it says you can't readily buy a PlayStation 5 here in the UK, but it's been the best-selling console in the country 2 months in a row now. As reported earlier in the week, the system has now outsold the lifetime totals of the Wii U, the PS Vita, and the Sega Dreamcast. Not altogether is that an extraordinary feat when you consider those consoles flopped, but it's managed it in approximately 5 months with extremely restricted stock. In fact, March 2021 represented the second best month for PS5 sales in the UK, outpaced only by the launch month of November. This is all according to GfK Entertainment data, as reported by GamesIndustry.biz. As a result of the strong sales, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales continues to perform well, despite also being available on the more readily available and established PS4. It seems that many are waiting to get Sony's next-gen console before picking up this superhero spinoff. So this article finishes off by saying, all in all, the PS5 is pretty much dominating the hardware space. Accessories like the DualSense controller, the Pulse 3D headset, the DualSense charging station mean that Sony is also winning the battle for best-selling accessories. And so I just, look, I'm not here to brag about sales and be like, look at how much PlayStation's selling. No, it's just to remind people that, this is a good sign for PlayStation. This is a good sign for the PS5. If the news we're seeing was that detrimental, I mean, to the point where like people actually, it's easy for people to go online and type something like, I'm done with PlayStation, or PlayStation's doomed. It's easy to do that and then go out and buy a PlayStation 5 if you have the ability to do so, or buy these PlayStation games and play them, because you don't have to come back and then say, you know what, never mind, actually, PlayStation's fine, I'm still buying their stuff. No, this is how it works, guys. It's all in a vacuum. You need to understand that. What we see online, the internet outrage, does not always translate to real world results. Now, that does not mean that we shouldn't have concerns about complacency, that we shouldn't maybe always be a little bit worried about Sony getting too comfortable and taking advantage of, being in the top spot, right? No, we always have to worry about that. But as of right now, things are looking really good for PlayStation. They're selling units, they have more games coming, they have a lot of games in development, and people are excited about that. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I was just trying to, maybe bring a little bit more positivity to the PlayStation conversation with this video, because, as I said, it's just been negativity all over the place, and I know not everybody feels that way, so I know I don't feel that way. So yeah, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.